Hello there, Trent, Tank Top Douche coming at you with yet another Legends of Runeterra today. Yeah, let's roll with that one. We're going to be going over the patch notes today, ladies and gentlemen. I took a break for a couple of days to kind of like recharge up until these patch notes, which are going to, at least I expect them to, impact the meta significantly. I am not one of the content creators that had access to these patch notes prior. I do know that some of them were able to set up like be a part of like a round table or something. I'm not sure why I wasn't invited, but I'm not even gonna make a big deal about it. I actually prefer not being spoiled, and I like reacting to these things, you know, for videos because of my React Andy series, I guess. It just kind of helps out. So, like, I'm not salty about anything, but in case you've been hearing of other content creators like actually knowing these beforehand, like I am going purely, I was gonna say naked, blind. Yeah, that's the actual term. I'm going blind into these notes. We are recording C. Okay, so let's actually do this. We're gonna be reading along. Card updates. Here is a look at each of the card updates coming in this patch. Gameplay system updates. Scout has been removed as a generatable keyword. Hex score upgrade, Pantheon, the Arsenal, and acceleration. Whoa! While it's important to have a mix of keywords of varying strength, Scout often outperforms as a generatable keyword, English, so we're removing it from the pool. Just gonna get like paranoid about like not recording. These outliers can be frustrating gameplay experiences, so we'd like to smooth the experience out while also having achievable highs and lows of using random keyword generation. And then copied spells now count as being played. We knew this was coming. Like they've announced several times on Twitter that this was coming. In case you guys don't follow Play Runeterra or Riot Ruben Zoo on Twitter, they also I believe he was the one, I'm not sure which account exactly posted, but they posted kind of like a preview as to, you know, what changes we were to expect, right? So I do know that there's like a bunch of changes, like over 40 changes. There's a lot to talk about today, but I did not, like, first of all, I had no idea. Like this, yes, we knew it was happening, right? But this is huge. This is actually really big. And honestly, I'm all for it. I think Scout is indeed extremely powerful, especially when combined with other keywords, and just really tips the scale a bit too much, especially, you know, with a build up Victor, more than anything with like Pantheon, for example, because Arsenal should be like a late game bomb anyways, but acceleration gain is not really that relevant. But with Pantheon, like this is a nerf to Pantheon, because with Pantheon gets Scout, it can be really brutal. And the fact that that's taken out of the equation is something that I'm honestly a fan of. Not really much more to say. I think this was a good call. I really did not see it coming at all, but I'm pleased to see it. And now we just go directly onto the cards. I'm not sure if Ashe was... okay, so Bard is also there. Okay, so this is not exactly... I don't remember... Was Bard in the... Like, I actually don't even remember, like, the preview thing. Because I wasn't expecting... I'm pleased to see Bard. But let's start off with Ashe. Ashe, level 1, now counts power reduction on units that already have 0 power. Okay, so it's kind of like a part of like a bug fix, and just for overall clarity. That's all fine. That's good. Not much more to say there. Bard now counts units that buff their own stats. We want to open up additional deck building possibilities for Bard and address confusion around what counts for his level up quest. You've increased the total stats of ally in play or hand by 20 or more. Now counts units that buff their own stats, and it did not count that before. This is a buff. It's a buff to Bard, as if Bard needed a buff. I can't believe, like, I still, like, for those of you who want to point out that I thought Bard was going to be weak, like, I'll take it on the chin. Like, this is definitely one of the champions that, you know, ended up quite stronger than I expected it. But I don't really find... I'm not a big fan of Bard, personally. I feel like a lot of the decks that just play Bard are rather dull because they're Allegiance decks, and they're very vanilla in what they do. You know, either Ionia with elusives, or you got Demacia, and I just feel like Bard adds a lot of variance into the game in a pretty dull way, and I don't like it that A lot of the stronger decks in the meta right now are just Bard packages. You know, I haven't been a big fan of this champion personally, and I've been a bit vocal about it. Okay, let's move on though, because you know we're gonna have Bard be relevant for a while, and there's not really much we can do about it for now. You know, it's not there in the world. Like there are other things. It's not like this is a Bard dominated meta, but I just want to clarify that I'm not a big fan of the champion personally. You can be. It's all right. We got Ezreal, 3 mana, increase. Okay, so basically a nerf to Ezreal. Required that you required to target 8 units now instead of what was it before? Was this 6? That's actually that's a big nerf. Big nerf to Ezreal, which is probably needed, honestly. I've always been a big fan of Ezreal, but ever since the play cast change, it just doesn't feel quite right the way this champion works. And it can be quite toxic, so I think I definitely welcome this change. Let's move on to your boy Hecarim, though. Ephemeral allies have +3 power. When I level up, grant. Oh, wow, that's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. He doesn't need to stay on the board. That's actually a big deal for Hecarim decks. I really like this change. We want the payoff for ephemeral decks to be more consistent by guaranteeing Hecarim's buff on leveling up, even if he dies in combat. Guys, Ghost Ambush, Omawa Daru Ephemerals is back and is stronger than ever. I'm actually really happy about this one. All right, Irelia. Let's see what they did. Okay, she has Attune now. That's basically it, right? She has Attune. Okay, she gained Attune. Okay, they did not go crazy. A lot of people were expecting them to go crazy with the Irelia buff by reverting the Flawless Duet, which could just make Irelia Azir busted again. And I think we definitely don't want to go back there. But it did feel like she needed something. And now having Attune definitely helps you out with recalling her multiple times as well, potentially, amongst other things. So I really like this change. I think it's definitely going to help. And I think it's a very responsible buff to Irelia. Would it be enough? Because Irelia Azir has already seen some play, but it's a very niche deck with specific matchups, right? Because it gets mauled by aggro, and it can really struggle against fast-paced mid-range like Demacia with Bard as well. Like it needs some time to get going, right? So I'm not sure if this will be enough to like put it at top tier position by any means, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. And you know, as long as it stays like a niche deck, I'm happy with the archetype. It is very fun, but it can definitely, you know, become oppressive if pushed too much. So I'll take that. Kalista, swapping swapping United States here. Gives Kalista some more innate tankiness and will increase her ability to engage in combat and level up. So she's a 3/4 now. I like this change. I think Kalista definitely with 3 health can be rough to keeping her around for the level up requirement. And this is just better because you'd rather level up Kalista than deal a little bit of extra damage with her. So this is a pretty decent buff to Kalista, honestly. It's very simple, but it does do quite a bit. I like that. I like that decision there. We got a Shen buff. Oh my god! I've seen allies. Okay, so the requirement for the level up goes up by 1, but now Shen incoming with barrier. Holy shit! Shen's play rate is amongst the lowest in Legend of Runeterra. We want to give him a bit more of an immediate ability to attack or block to give him some more combat control. When added, potentially to level him up and realize the Shen dream. This is an incredible buff. This is actually nuts, dude. This is you get a free attack and a free block with a 3/5 stat line on a 4-drop. This buff is nuts. This buff is actually nuts. Oh, Gabby's going to be happy to see this because she loves Shen Jarvan. Oh, my God. Oh, this is the shit. All right, we're playing Shen. We're playing Shen very soon. Oh, wow. Like, that's probably the craziest. That's definitely the strongest buff we've seen so far on these champions. Oh, and that's the last champion. So they ended up this showcase with a bang. Okay, that is a huge buff to Shen. Other champions, I would have liked to see other buffs towards other champions. Like, I feel like, you know, we got some neat changes here and there, but I felt like we could have had a bit more going on, honestly. But it's better. It's better than, like, it's definitely above average. So I'll give it that. Wow. Aftershock is 3 mana. We'd love for more landmark removal to be viable, and identified Aftershock as a card that could help provide more widespread interactive counterplay against landmarks. Also a card that allows PNZ burn to be even better because it's now cheaper. You deal 3 damage for 3 mana, even if it is at slow speed. Like, you can pair this with decimates and stuff. Like, the problem with Aftershock is always going to be, like, by buffing it, you're increasing the burn potential. And I really don't feel like the game needs burn to be better. But it definitely does make the card more viable. It makes the card, it's a very significant buff because it turns it into a 3 mana play. So, for example, for the Improbulator mid-range decks, this all of a sudden synergizes with Tribeam Improbulator. Even though you can say, well, Scorched Earth, you know, but I'd argue, like, this is extremely useful. Like, the fact that for 3 mana, 3 damage. Yeah, it's slow speed, but you can go face, you can remove a unit, like, or you can destroy a landmark. I feel like this card is definitely extremely good right now, honestly. Like, Aftershock was always alright, but now, like, for this price, the fact that you can go face with it without having to discard or anything, like, yeah, you lose the ability to, like, chain them and fast speed, like, get excited, right? But I really think this is extremely solid now and a very, very powerful nerf. Avatar of the Tides gets a little bit of a stat line boost that we still don't see this thing. Not even in, like, there's, like, no variant of Nami that even plays this. So I don't really think this is going to make a difference, honestly. Like, I don't think Avatar of the Tides is, I don't think this is relevant. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't really see it. I don't think it was 1 health point away from really changing this card's playability, in my opinion. Avros and Hearthguard becomes a 5/6, you know, to give for all your mid-range units a boost and actually give you a solid body. I mean, that's a pretty relevant change. Like, we're talking about, oh, this may not be very relevant, but this is a card that comes in and it's kind of an investment, right? And the fact that it has 1 more health allows it. There's a lot of 5/5s, man. There's a lot of 5 health damage running around, and being able to survive and just be thicker overall is a pretty big deal. Will it still be too slow for this sort of, like, snowballing mid-range meta? I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely a very neat buff. And the same goes for this buff for, oh my god. This buff for Babbling Bjerg is nutty. Nutty. A 4 mana 3/4, man. We know from Aloof Travelers, that's a legit stat line for a card that gives you card advantage. And this is phenomenal. This is more important than this. Like, this buff to Babbling Bjerg is, I would have liked to see it a while back. This is a great change. Great buff to this card. Oh, yes, she's back as a 2/1. Let's go. Let's go. Thrash Nasus smiles again. Ho, 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 whoa. I knew they were going to nerf this card, but I thought it was going to be a 3/1. Wow. Wow, Brightsteel Protector. Well, I mean, now I kind of get, like, the crazy buff to Shen a bit more. Oh my god, dude. Oh, rip. Can we get some F's in the comment for Brightsteel Protector? She died. She just straight up died. This change is meant to stop the strength of the monster coming out with Brightsteel and encouraging the utility of her barrier. Yeah, the thing is, like, even in decks like Faded, this is not really that much of an impact because you still benefit significantly from the barrier and just triggering the Faded, right? But it is definitely a big hit towards a more aggressively oriented Demacia decks that really benefit from, like, just the good stat line of a 2 mana 3/2 that's also giving you either a free block or with a challenger giving you a free trade. Like, I believe that this has been a long time coming. I think Brightsteel Protector has been broken as a 2-drop for a very long, I mean, since forever, really. And I honestly think that this is a good decision, though not everybody will agree with me. Like, I know, for example, Shermie doesn't agree with me. Like, she hates this change, and she thinks that Demacia pays for other region sins, which is, you know, it's not a bad take by any means. Like, there is a lot of truth in there. But I still do feel like this is a good change to happen, and it's overall healthy because this 2-drop was just a bit too good. Even though I was definitely expecting a 3, like a 2/1. They went all in, man. They massacred my girl, man. They massacred. She did. No, not really. I still think she'll see play, but definitely not a staple like she once was. Carnivoran Dragon goes from a 4-3 to a 4-4. We're adding more on-curve health to make Carnivoran Dragon more cost-effective. Yeah, I think that's a good call. Once it comes in, if it kills whatever it strikes, it becomes a 5-5 for 4 mana, which gives you a bit of an edge. And I do feel like this is a very neat nerf to allow players to, or encourage them more rather, to explore dragon deck building outside of the standard Demacia Targon region combination. So maybe I'll go back towards some, evil dragons in the near future. Chief Nakotak. Oh, I forgot this card existed. 3 mana, 2-4 instead of a 3-3. And the change before says, when an ally transforms, fully heal it and grant it +1/+1. When an ally transforms, fully heal it, grant it +1/+1 and impact. Okay, a pretty interesting buff to this card. Transform-based Battle City decks have historically not seen much play, so we're buffing Chief Nakotak as a course introducing card for new deck building possibilities, making the engine more resilient by giving it less power. I mean, it does lose the ability to trade into fearsomes, but it does gain a lot of survivability by going up to 4 health, and giving units impact gives you, a more impactful combination. So funny. So yeah, I think I'm not really sure. Like I'm not an expert in Battle City at this point. Like I haven't touched the region in a while, but I maybe now that it's actually hipster, I will explore this transform archetype, and I'll go back to Giga Grump, who I once stated was going to be one of the strongest cards in the game, in my tremendous and infinite knowledge. Crumble going from 5 to 4. Phenomenal. Now this card is real. Now this card exists. Now this card is a legitimate option. Given its ability to disrupt and potential access through Tailstones, yeah, big buff to Tailstone as well. We've identified Crumble as a card that could use a cost decrease to see a bit more prey. I think this is a really good call. Really good call. Still slow speed, still requires you to kill an ally, but definitely playable and can be a good way for Shadow Owls to have more cheap resources to deal, especially ever since the buff to Vengeance happened, right? Now it'll do that. But now let's move on, because this one really obviously is very important. Disintegrate. Damage mitigation now prevents units from Disintegrate's effect. Okay, well, we all want it. We want to add more healthy counterplay to Disintegrate, increase the clarity of its text and effect, and fix several buggy edge cases, such as Disintegrate versus Barrier, Lifesteal, Tough versus Lifesteal? I'm not sure what the interaction was with Lifesteal. If anybody can tell me. I know about Barrier and Tough, but I don't know how Lifesteal disrupted this. Because the next time it takes one or more damage. So they changed the effect and they made it very clear. We all wanted this. It felt really bad. Disintegrate just could be completely, it just ignored Barrier and Tough. And I think nobody disagrees with this change. And it's good because it's still a good card. I think Disintegrate is really good for the game. But I definitely do like for there to be more counterplay to it, right? Let's move off to the Ember Mark. Oh, this is a card. It exists. It goes from a 4 cost to a 3 cost, and it loses 1 stat. When you summon another ally, grant me +1 power. Ember Mark was so inefficient to function within his archetype, so we're lowering its cost. I mean, yeah. Again, Battle City, Storm stuff. Yeah. Not the most exciting for me, but hey, for those Yordle enthusiasts out there, like the two of you, good news for you. Ferros Financier, good. This really had to happen. Like, at the very least. Ferros Financier was giving too much value to this inside line for his versatility. Exactly. Like, at least make him a 2-1. I still think the card is insane, and it's not going to lose much play rate, but it does need to be able to die to Pains, trade into Spiderlings, and die, etc., etc. Like, this guy was too good. He was essentially PNZ's own conchologist, and I am happy to see this change. Even though I love PNZ and I love playing Ferros Financier, I think this was very warranted. Thank you! Arigato gozaimasu. Gleaming Lantern is nerfed to a 3-2. Thank the Lord. This thing needs to be toned down and being able to trade in, like, easier to trade into, so that it's not really as useful as an offensive tool if you want to make use of the tempo. So I really like this a lot. Hothead is now a 3-mana 3-3. Upon attacking, grants the top champion in your deck +1/+1 and a random keyword. Now it's more resilient and still has the ability to trade into Fearsome. Does not die to Mystic Shot or 2-drops because it doesn't have. Because there's a big difference between being a 4-2 and just vanilla 4-2 and being a 4-2 with fearsome like the Merciless Hunter, right? Because this means that it trades into 2/1s, and that's a massive, massive downfall for a card, especially for a 3-drop. So that's a no-no. That's, you know, that's Escape Abomination 101. And we definitely want to avoid that. So this is a very healthy change for the card that will definitely help it see some play. And I'm going to experiment with it because I don't think I've ever uploaded a video with the Hothead. So I'll see what I come up with that. Now it's definitely playable. So I really like this change here. Inspiring Marshal. Okay, so they're not reverting the making it back to a 5-drop. Instead, they're increasing the stat lines, making her beefier, harder to kill, and giving her the ability to, you know, the Hearthstone, the Avarice and Hearthguard treatment, basically, by just giving her that nice stat line. And yeah, I mean, still very slow at 6 mana for what Irelia is doing, but maybe, you know, with the right distributions, she can see some play there again. Justice Rider getting a nice buff. Will this be enough? I'm not sure. I mean, she's kind of slow, but as a 3/5, that's a really nice stat line. For 4 mana, that's just really nice. You know, that's the what's the name of the guy? The Yordle Mentor, or no, the guy who's like always like lecturing Yordle. That was the Yordle is lecturing. The lecturing Yordle. You know, has that nice stat line, and I saw a lot of play because of it. And maybe, you know, maybe Flash Bombs now actually do better because she is more efficient at staying alive, because it's important for an engine to stay alive. So more health is always better than more power for a card like this. We'll see. We'll see, because I do feel like the Flash Bomb package is very underpowered besides Caitlyn and her signature spell. And it is a bit of a shame because I really am a big fan of the design of this, you know, trap archetype. Khahiri, ya boy, goes from 6 mana. I love this. I want to build some Khahiri again. It's been a while. Do you guys want to see some Khahiri? Actually, it's been a long ass time. Yeah, this is actually a really neat buff. Yeah, this makes him easier to play early on. Like, you don't care about the stat reduction at all. Like, the cost reduction is so worth it for a card like this. Yeah, definitely going to be more satisfying. Really big fan of this change, and makes me excited to actually build some Khahiri Predict again. The Lady of Blood. Oh, I think this card is so cool. And now giving her a better power stat line to allow her to trade into fearsomes and just eat up 2 mana 2/3s, for example. Very, very neat buff here. I'm not sure if she still will be a bit slow, but I'm definitely gonna especially because a thumbnail with her would look really sick. So I'm gonna explore to see if I can make some decks around Lady of the Blood. Yeah, this is what I love, these balance changes, man. Like, they just kind of like inspire me. It's like, oh wait, this card exists. All right, you know what? I forgot it existed. Let's actually make something around it. We got Lava Lizard, who gains impact now. I mean, this card saw no play whatsoever and deserves to spit a bit more fire. All right, you know what? Props. That's pretty good there. This is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted. The Legion Deserter goes from Overwhelmed to Fearsome. Good riddance. This card is just insane with Viego, and the Overwhelm is nuts. And now it got the Legion General treatment. For there's a lot of people shit talking me for bringing up that comparison. Well, look, where are you now, Timmy? Here's exactly what happened. Want to keep the gameplay dreams of scaling huge Legion Deserters, but swap out Overwhelmed for Fearsome to reduce the ability to outright end your opponent's career prematurely. I really like these descriptions. Whoever writes these, yeah, should get a raise. Merc Wolf Shaman, base stats from a 3/3 to a 2/4, and then from a 5/6. This is a 5/6. This is what I thought it was a 5/5. I had no idea this was a 5/6. I thought this got buffed and I didn't notice. But now it's a 4/6. But it's easier to trigger. Yeah, and I like this change, you know. I mean, it's a price to pay on a regeneration using it till you lose 1 power. But in exchange for making the original body more resilient, definitely something that you're going. And you don't really care too much about the power with this thing. You just want to make sure it survives so the turn comes in. So Merc Wolf Shaman, pretty damn good buff. And also going to be excited to build around something with it as well. Patricide Broadwing, thank goodness. Whoa. Okay. It's getting the Flea Feather Tracker treatment. I like this. It's actually very clever. It stops this being like the biggest reason this thing is so good is because it comes in on turn 2 and it acts like a 3/3 challenger for 2 mana, right? Being able to trade into something like an Elise, for example, and still survive. Now it needs 1 extra turn to actually challenge shit, and that is a very clever. Very, very clever nerf to this thing without completely like just leaving it, just taking away its playability, because it's very difficult to nerf 1-drops and 2-drops without absolutely killing them, right? Because, you know, the amount of room that you have to take away or give away a stat is very low. It's very limited, and it gets especially tricky with Formidable as well. So I think this is a super clever change, and I really like it. Whoa! What? Hello? Okay, like they make sure to bury this. All right. I definitely I was like, before even they announced the preview, like I discussed with Shermie a lot, like what potential changes we could see. We were talking about thralls, and I definitely I knew that they were gonna hit Promising Future. Like that was gonna be the #1 target for the archetype, and if you hit it right, you definitely sink the entire ship, right? If done correctly. So I expected it to be a 5 mana. I thought they would because just 1 cost increase is a huge nerf in Legend of Runeterra. 2 cost increase is nuts. But honestly, considering how strong the deck is, I welcome it. Like now, if you want to get like an extra 8/8, like you gotta put in the mana. It's gonna hurt your momentum a lot. You're gonna have to carry over a lot of spell mana to be able to do this and curve that out with Talia as well. So it's not going to be easy by any means, and it's gonna make it a much more punishable play that you can definitely, like I said, punish with aggression. So phenomenal nerf that's gonna hit thralls hard. And they deserve it, honestly. We're greatly slowing down the ability to double down on landmarks risk-free and introduce more obvious windows for counterplay. Really strong nerf, but I'm not complaining about it. Thralls players will. You know, I enjoy Thralls a lot, but I do admit that they are too good right now. So happy to see that. Quicksand. This is exactly the change I suggested. This is actually the change I wanted for this card. I think I posted it on Twitter, actually. You give an enemy -4 or 2 enemies. Well, I said -3, and that was perhaps excessive. Or 2 enemies -1 this round. You disable their positive keywords this round. Fantastic change. You're still taking away the keywords, which is the most important thing from this card. But now it's not really taking as much power away, which made this card just too strong for what it did. Because having multiple options for a burst speed spell like this is already powerful enough, but being extremely efficient on both decisions just made this card really busted. And now it's more toned down. It's fair. It's still really strong, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not just absolute batshit crazy as it was before. So really good change for Quicksand. I'm liking all these changes, honestly. I don't think I've seen a single change that's been super underwhelming, you know? I think they're doing great. So far, so good. Resplendent Stellar. I'm seeing Riptide Rex there. Ooh. This change should provide more on-curve power to target healing decks. So now becoming a 5/6. You know, Averos and Hearthguard treatment. Not much more to say. Pretty damn decent buff to the card. We'll see if it has any impact whatsoever. Let's talk about your boy, though. Okay, they increased the stat line to 7/5. And then Plunder. Oh, my. Oh, man, he's back. Oh, he's back. Bilgewater control decks have slowly moved out of the metagame with time and nerfs to key cards. Returning Riptide Rex to his former glory should give some slower and mid-range Bilgewater decks more viable top-end cards. Just perfect. Perfect buff here, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely perfect. Really excited, especially because Riptide Rex now has more utility than ever. There's obviously the combination with Radiant Bloom Conservatory, which is really fun and very powerful if done correctly. And it also opens up, maybe he can just come back finally to good old Freljord Bilgewater Plunder decks. Maybe even so with some ramp tools. I'm just really happy. Also with the PNZ combination as well, as now, you know, leveling up Ezreal is harder, but Riptide Rex can almost automatically level up Ezreal too. So, you know, with kegs, that can also see some cool play. Like, there's just a lot of decks in which this card can fit in. And ever since it got nerfed, it was just really sad, because in my opinion, this was one of the coolest cards, easily top 5 coolest cards that came out of Rising Tides, which is arguably the strongest expansion this game has seen. So seeing your boy back is great. Like, fucking A. Fucking A. Sands of Time Instant Sentry is now fleeting. Great change. Well, they really went hard on Thralls, but honestly, like, yeah, it's warranted. So, yeah, like this change as well. Squeaker! Squeaker does not squeal to Vile Feast no more. No more pings killing Squeaker, and that's great, because this card has never really been relevant, and I do feel like Mecha Yordles are not that far away from being really good in the meta. So I think this change could actually go a long way. Big fan of it, especially on an augment unit, giving him a little bit more life. I really like that. The Arsenal getting buffed after the fact that it can't lose or can't gain Scout. Yeah, here they say it. Scout removal as a generatable keyword hurts this guy quite a bit. So we're making him a bit better, or a bit beefier, to retain his name as the Arsenal. I like it. I like it. Still really cool win condition. Actually, I uploaded a video on this guy recently, and he was the MVP for sure. The Prefect getting a little bit of a boost in power there. Much needed buff. Comparing this card to something like the Armored Ballista just felt bad. And I think it's a very interesting card, and she just needs a bit of a head start, and I think this is a very neat buff right there. Try Fairy Assessor, dude. Ashe is back. Holy shit. 4-mana Assessor has returned, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is completely warranted. I saw somebody mention this a while back, that it's time for Trifarian Assessor to be reverted, and I completely agree. Reputation-based Noxus decks could use or revert on the Assessor's cost to improve viability. Love it. Absolutely love it. Then the Vanguard first. Whoa. Oh, this is a massive buff, man. Is this card actually going to see play now? Like, yeah, maybe with, like, you know, free attacks like Minotaur Reckoner and shit, like maybe with like Riven, like this card can actually just be pretty nuts, or even like with the list as well. Like, there's a lot of neat tools to capitalize on the attack trigger, right? So now that he's actually got a real stat line for 4 mana, you know, doesn't just die to Mystic Shot. Like, this guy could do stuff. What's a patch without a random elite buff? First Blade Curve out should be a bit more satisfying for Demacia decks, and he's an elite too. I forgot about that. Pretty neat. Windfair Hatchling for a 4/2 to a 4/3. With the release of World Walker, Iona has been underrepresented overall. We're providing elusive decks some more power to finish out games. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not been underrepresented. You know, like, Bard Ionia with either Zed or, like, Ahri is really strong, but I get what you're saying. And I think this is a good change. Like, I actually been wanting to try out some Lulu Ahri again. And this was a pretty important component. And having not just died to a 2-mana ping, which is really neat. So, I like it. Yordle Contraption, 4 mana. This card hasn't seen much play. Much. So we're improving the efficiency of this old contraption. You destroy a landmark or you create 2 random multi-region followers in hand. Still pretty clunky and probably not going to see play anyways, but it's there. It got changed. Oh! Yes! 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 Oh, yes! Fuck you, Pantheon. Fuck you, Faded. Fuck you, Ginger Beard Man. And Dragon with Arrow to the knee. Oh my god, this is huge. This nerf is like this is so big. Giving Overwhelm. We're no longer granting Overwhelm. There's no longer just play Overwhelm and then for the rest of the match. Like that is a huge blow to Faded. That is a huge. I thought this card. I knew the nerf was coming, but I did not expect it to be something so dramatic here. Seeded Blade should be a solid go-to repeatable buff for decks, but its power output should be a bit more narrow considering the low amount of card resources required to grant up to 3 units Overwhelm, especially given the additional synergies and stats repeated Zenith Blades provide. Yeah, like this is This card is it's the big thing, like the big reason why Pantheon decks are so menacing, right? Now it's just like they can still get a big hit off, but you have to time your Zenith Blade. You just don't want to, like, it changes the play pattern completely, because before you really want to get this on as early as possible, because you're also getting a nice health boost that helps your unit have more survivability. And now it's just like you can't just Zenith Blade and then the next turn just go for a Cataclysm and just deal a billion damage, and that just goes such a long way. Like, now you have to pay 3 mana every round that you want that overwhelm, and that is just a very neat way to slow down that nonsense without necessarily having to hit the Faded. You know, I feel like Faded, I've stated that Faded is not okay as it is, but Zenith Blade is definitely the reason why it's over the top. And I didn't think they would go so hard in on this card, but you know, I take what I've said back. Like, I think that this is definitely a strong enough fix. This and the scout change with Pantheon. Like, I really like these like this direct and indirect hit to the archetype. It's really clean, and that's it. Honestly, a very satisfying patch. Very satisfying patch. Like, just really good changes across the board. Some of them I'm really excited about, others not as much. But overall, like, I don't disagree with any change whatsoever. I really don't. Like, I feel like some are a bit heavy, but I think that's warranted. And, you know, I think this is, like, perhaps the least, you know, relevant one. But there's no change that I don't ultimately like, except for Bard. Fuck you, Bard. But the Hecarim change is great. The Irelia change is great. The Kalista change is really neat. The Shen change is so nuts. It's actually really nutty. But there's a lot. There's a lot to mess around with here. Like, I'm so hyped to just play Khahiri again. It's been forever. And to see, like, Lady of the Blood, I can do something cool with her as well. For the thumbnail. Yeah, like this, the Shaman too. A lot of cool cards, man. A lot of cool cards got buffed. A lot of annoying cards got nerfed. What more can you ask for? Very solid patch. And that's basically where I'm going to end it at, because we've already been over like 37 minutes of me just rambling. What do you guys think about the patch? Do you guys, is there anything that you would have liked seeing changed? Like, how would you rate it from 1 to 10? Like, I want to start asking, when I do these like patch reviews, like I want to hear your opinion. Like 1 out of 10, what are your first impressions of the quality of these changes and their impact on the meta? And anything else you want to share, like, let me know in the comments. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. I'm Slowly Did. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Legends of Runeterra content. I say daily because this guy on Twitter told me, you know, maybe you shouldn't say daily if you take breaks every now and then. I'm like, well, okay, fuck that shit. I'm gonna say daily like every second of my videos now. Daily videos. Even though sometimes we do take a break, you know, because we're humans. But tomorrow we'll be back at it. And I got to think about what we're going to play with first. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I hope you have a soul day. I'm going to stop rambling. Have a good one. Enjoy the games. Not really. I'll see you guys tomorrow.